So two things. We allow companies to leave reviews for their subs internally, and the subs see that review and they can see that they're being docked points for certain things or they're doing exceptionally well. And the second thing that helps subs really do a great job for companies is the fact that they all of a sudden see that there's competition. And they don't see competition. They can't see anybody else's bids, none of that. But there's something psychological about receiving 5 notifications saying there's 5 exterior jobs posted and knowing that you only won 2 of them or 1 of them. All of a sudden, it gives you this understanding of, hey, I'm not the only painter that this company is relying on.
Welcome to the Painter Growth Podcast, where we help you scale your painting company in record time. Join us as we explore sales, marketing, hiring, finances, leadership, and more, everything that you need to know to scale and grow your painting business. I hope you enjoy and subscribe. What is going on, everybody? Mike Hickman here, founder of paintergrowth.com, and y'all listen to the Painter Growth Podcast. And today I have one of my friends I met at the PCA Expo back in January in Orlando, Mr. Dmitry Ivanchuk. And Dmitry is the founder of a very cool app and website that we're going to be talking about today called HeyPros. And you also have your own painting and flooring business.
Yeah.
What's up, Dmitry?
Well, yeah. Hey, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. Nice to share our story.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm actually really stoked. So we had quite a solid chat when we were at the expo, but I'm excited to dive in a little bit more here. So why don't we just back up a little bit? How did you get into the space where you decided to start up an app? Because creating an app is not a small undertaking.
Yeah, it's a long story, but I'll try to condense it. I mean, everything always starts with a dream, right? As a kid. I got into the painting space because my dad's been a painter for as long as I can remember, since I was born. And he's just been a kind of a painting contractor, W-2, his whole entire life. And I watched him struggle, work hard, and try to get jobs, try to work. And so I always thought, when I get older, I'm going to help him out and do something that's going to help immigrant contractors or just people that can't really get their own jobs. So that was kind of the goal always. So I got into the space when I turned 18. I opened up a little painting business and had my dad join me and started selling painting jobs and managing them for him. And a couple of his friends took them from the company they were working at, and they actually still work at that. It's a smaller painting company, but they still work there. And I occasionally pop in to kind of see how things are going and help them out. But that was kind of how everything started. And I guess I just got tied into marketing, doing digital marketing for flooring and painting companies in my area, and then got connected with a awesome affiliate marketing company here in Vancouver, Washington that loved to invest into startups, and the kind of opportunity arose to build something in-house with my expertise and a couple of other guys' expertise. And that's kind of how it was born. It was right around 2020, COVID era, when a bunch of companies were complaining about labor shortages and not being able to find subcontractors. And I thought that was silly because I knew a bunch of painters that were sitting around with no work, but painting companies were complaining they couldn't find subs. And I thought it was just because they were mismanaging how they were reaching out to them and how they were working with them. So we thought, why not create almost an Uber-like approach to finding subcontractors? And instead of providing subcontractors, we thought, why not create a software that would allow businesses to manage their existing subcontractors and be able to onboard more and scale and make sure they have a full suite of tools to be able to do that. So that's kind of how we got started.
So you saw a problem in the market. It's such an entrepreneur thing. You saw a problem in the market. I see these painters on one side that can't find employees. I see these painters on the other side that can't find work. There must be a better way.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So what was before you even started to actually go through development, and you're not a technical person, right? You're not a developer.
Mm-hmm.
So before you started to figure out what was actually possible, what was your vision for it? What was the solution that you kind of pictured in your mind pre-development?
Yeah. So kind of a solution that I was dreaming about for many, many years before this, even before COVID, before I even started my first painting company, when I saw my dad struggling was, well, why couldn't there just be kind of an Uber-like service for finding contractors, right? Like where a homeowner could find a contractor. That I it speaks to how young I am, because when I was dreaming this, I was still like freshman in high school and Uber was already around. That was kind of the dream, and then that's kind of the first lunge in direction we headed in, only to find out that this industry really needs a middleman. A lot of industries try to cut out the middleman, but home improvement really do need that middleman, that kind of company that's going to guide the customers. And so I found that out pretty quickly when we tried to connect homeowners directly with subcontractors, and found out that an Uber-like model is just not going to work.
They
So
need the
maybe we
customer.
should
The customer experience is as important
do.
as the service itself.
They do. Yeah, so that's kind of how it got started. But how to actually build out the app? I mean, my the other founder, who originally actually started building this out by himself with a small team, immigrated from Ukraine just 5 years ago, and he came in and was installing flooring. When he immigrated here in 2018, I believe. And he was just a flooring subcontractor trying to learn the language, and he really didn't like how it was working as a subcontractor. And so he started actually with his own money building a little prototype of the app with some Ukrainian developers, and that's how him and I kind of ironically just connected at the company that I was working at, the affiliate marketing company. And that's kind of where we jumped on ship together. And so he didn't have a technical background either, but he saw a similar problem as I did, and a very similar solution. And obviously we've pivoted many times, so it's hard to say who contributed what at this point, but we both came with one idea and kind of got the opportunity with a big team of developers to do it.
So let's look at I don't want to go like feature wise, but big picture wise right now.
Mhm.
How does it work? So start from the painting company's side who's looking for subs. How does that work?
Yeah. So painting companies, we encourage them to find subcontractors the same way that they find them right now. Just don't turn them away, right? The goal of HeyPros is to kind of be a CRM for your subcontractors. So when a painting company gets a painting contractor reaching out saying, hey, are you guys interested? Are you guys looking for more painters? Usually the answer is no, because you don't want to go through the onboarding process, vetting him, things like that. And so we actually encourage companies, hey, don't say no. Write down their phone number and their email, and put them into your HeyPros platform, right? You meet a painter on the street or at Sherwin-Williams or at Benjamin Moore, put down his info into your HeyPros CRM, and just put kind of the category that they might want to work in. And when you have a work order, such as a vacant house, a rental, a flip, a land, like a rental, or something that's being sold, put on the market, or maybe a multifamily kind of situation where you have a job that is maybe $1,000, couple $1,000, and you're willing to try someone out on. You have that database of painters, and so when you're creating a work order inside of HeyPros, you can very easily dispatch it to 50 of them at the same time, or 20 guys, or 10 guys, or one guy, right? And so you can send it to 10 of the guys you've never tried, and
And
they'll
they'll
all
get a
get a text
notification
message.
on their phone.
Yeah, they'll all get a text message.
Text. Okay.
Yeah, so we do have an app, but usually contractors don't want to download an app when you're just talking to them. We want to make the process as seamless for them as possible and as easy. So you just get their phone number, right? You put their phone number into your system, you post a work order, and it sends them a notification saying, hey, X, Y, and Z company has a work order they want to make available to you. Here's the link. When they click on that link, it's an account. It's like when you go to the doctor and you get a text with your appointment. You don't have to log into your account. You just click on the link and it recognizes you, logs you in, and you can start moving things around and doing things in there. So the contractor gets that link, they click on it, they're automatically logged in, they see all the details of the work order that you made available to them, and they can act on it. And you give them a couple options on how to act on it. We allow bidding. So unlike any other software, you can actually allow contractors to bid on a work order. They can place offers, explain their offer, and then what you get is you get a list of all the offers from every subcontractor that's interested. Or you can just set it at asking price and say, hey, this work order's for $1,000. You send it to 20 guys and 3 of them could say, I'm interested. And in that work order, it's a snapshot of the whole entire job. Obviously, a lot of the details are blurred out, such as the address. It's just giving them a radius, and you don't have to put in the customer's details and things, but you can give them a full snapshot of what this job looks like, and they can say, I'm interested, and you have however many guys respond saying they're interested, and you can pick from those. Now, when you're ready to actually work with these guys, you can go in and require compliance documents from them. So instead of just selecting them uncompliant, you give them compliance requirements inside of HeyPros, send it to them, and they're required to fill out a couple of things, all customizable inside of your HeyPros app for your whatever your business does. And from then on, you can onboard them into your system and try them on a work order, have them do the whole, and we can talk more about the HeyPros workflow, but that you kind of asked the question of how do they find subcontractors. HeyPros is not for finding necessarily, right? I kind of explained a use case of that. Ultimately, majority of our users are onboarding their existing subcontractors and making sure that they're already compliant and onboarded properly to begin with, and using HeyPros to properly manage their work orders. That's just kind of a little explanation of how to.
So it's not like Uber in terms of you open up a map and see where all the contractors are, and you can reach out to one.
No.
Kind of you meet your contractors, you put them into your HeyPros account. They don't need an account, but then you can use it as a really streamlined way to communicate with them.
Yeah, so it's not really like that. We tried that. Like I said, we've tried a couple of different things. We tried being an Uber for contractors in the beginning, and what we found was it worked pretty well, actually a little too well, to the point where in less than 5 months from launch, we were doing, I believe, close to 200 jobs a month, where we were helping local companies find subcontractors, and we were kind of facilitating that connection. But what we found is just every company has their own vetting requirements. Every company has their own compliance. Every company has their kind of way that they want to build a relationship. And so what we got into the business of is we got into the business of helping companies build their subcontractor relationships, right? We don't want to just hand one-off guys that we vetted and nobody really has a relationship with. Our goal is to ultimately provide an experience that would help companies and subcontractors cultivate that relationship in an easy way. A project manager typically can only work with 4 or 5 subs effectively. What HeyPros allows a project manager to do is work with 20 or 30 subcontractors effectively because of how easy it is to communicate, dispatch, and everything else.
Yeah. Okay, cool. No, that makes a lot of sense. And then how about from the subcontractor side? Now they get, they get a text message, so they get put into someone's system, they get a text message, and like, what do they see? They see a link and they click on it.
Yeah, they get the HeyPros user experience. So it opens up their account. They're logged into our web version, and in that account, they can manage their profile. They can complete compliance requirements. They can upload the documents that they see are available to them. They can open up a map and see all of the work orders on a map view. It's basically from the subcontractor side, it is like an Uber experience. They have a map. They have work orders available to them. They can see everything available to them. They can manage their existing work orders. They can see their calendar and schedule. They have a chat feature. If they download the app, they can chat with the project manager on that dedicated work order. So they're not texting a project manager about 5 jobs at the same time. It's a chat thread for every single job, and it's native to the application, so it's really easy to use, right? You get push notifications that just open up like you're using WhatsApp, right? So it's very intuitive, and it's very organized. It's easy.
One
for
thing I'm
anybody.
wondering, like, if it's like impacted is because a big problem in the industry is just like low quality subs or like unreliable subs, not showing up, not taking the job seriously. I feel like this would help the main business be taken a little bit more seriously by their subs. Have you seen anything
100%.
around that?
Yes, 100%. I'm glad you touch on that. So 2 things. We allow companies to leave reviews for their subs internally, and the subs see that review, and they can see that they're being docked points for certain things, or they're doing exceptionally well. And the second thing that helps subs really do a great job for companies is the fact that they all of a sudden see that there's competition. And they don't see competition. They can't see anybody else's bids, none of that. But there's something psychological about receiving 5 notifications saying there's 5 exterior jobs posted, and knowing that you only won 2 of them or 1 of them. All of a sudden it gives you this understanding of, hey, I'm not the only painter that this company is relying on. Because when you talk to subcontractor, I work with subcontractors all the time in my business. They sometimes get this feeling of, I'm the only one and you owe me a lot. And although we want to continue cultivating that relationship and making sure they have the voice, we don't want them to feel like they can abuse us or use us any way they want, right? We don't want the subcontractors to feel like, hey, I'm doing all your work for you. So by them seeing that there was 5 or 6 work orders available, and you choose how you make them available. If a painting company does not want to do that and they just want to send 1-to-1 and never have that kind of open concept environment, they don't have to. They can send a work order to one guy. He doesn't want it, send it to the next one. He doesn't want it, send the next one.
Do you have
But
clients
that's
using
just
this on a residential basis, or typically more like commercial and flips and stuff?
So primarily, HeyPros is used by residential companies.
Okay.
Primarily residential companies, because of how much because of how much kind of data tracking is needed, change order tracking, as well as communication on the job, being able to ask the sub ETAs and have the rest of the company staff be able to access that. So if a customer is calling into the office and saying, hey, the painter hasn't arrived yet, when's he showing up? Whoever picked up the phone doesn't have to go find the project manager. They can just open their HeyPros app, find that work order, open the chat, and see what the sub's ETA was.
Okay.
Or see where see what he just said. Usually they're communicating in the app, right? So instead of the project manager having a 1-to-1 text conversation, anybody in the company that has access to that work order can open it up and see what's kind of being talked about and what status, what stage the job's at.
Just a little bit more transparency. How about when it comes to, I know you said,
Yes.
sorry, what's the word I'm looking for? Like the requirements, the job requirements, the compliance. There's the word. Yeah, it's getting late. You said you're talking about compliance. Now, what if a company has different requirements that they want the sub to agree to? Like, I know it's hard. You can't like make a subcontractor like wear your shirt or anything like that, but you can ask them to like take their magnets off their truck or things like that. Are you allowed to, or is there any way to like build in that type of like personalized requests into HeyPros?
Another great question. Yes. Our compliance requirements are completely customizable, right? There's nothing predefined on HeyPros. You're building in the compliance section. There's nothing predefined. So you create document sets. You create custom requirements with as many or as little uploads required, and you define the description of them and what's required and what's not required. You can even attach examples of what you want on those documents. So that's kind of the compliance requirements, and you don't have to make those requirements required to every single sub. You can hand pick which subcontractor gets which requirements. So that allows you to split by category. Have exterior guys do one set of requirements, interior guys another set of requirements. Not everyone needs an EPA lead safety kind of certification.
Yeah.
So you make it required to some and not to others, right? Anything else, like in the commercial space, sometimes in the commercial space, certain kind of commercial painters need a certain certificate. You can make that certificate as a document set and only assign it to a few subs, right? Yeah. And with our compliance requirements, we have expiration date tracking and notifications, as well as auto toggle uncompliant when it expires if you wanted to do so. So you can set expiration dates on each one of those documents, and then we'll remind the subcontractor 30 days out, as well as your admin via notification. And then 48 hours before it expires, be notified. And then as soon as it expires on the day of, it'll notify both parties. And then if you choose to, you can toggle and select mark uncompliant if this expires. So some documents,
that right there is like worth the price of admission. Like,
yes.
How many times has a sub had one of their had their insurance or their liability or something like that like expired and not renewed, and you didn't know for like a year?
Exactly. And with HeyPros, if you just set it up once, That's it, right? It's tracking on autopilot. Your admins, your accountants never have to pull a report. Nobody ever has to go in and check. They just know that, hey, I put the expiration date in and I toggled it on. And if I wanted to, you can go into the user profile and check his documents, check the expiration dates and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like it's essentially almost like a CRM portion of HeyPros for managing your subs. But yeah, you will never ever accidentally give a work order to an uncompliant sub ever again, right? Our system will physically not allow it. It'll be in red, and you will see this. Like the sub can still say, "I'm interested in that work order," but on your end, on the project manager's end, whoever's on your staff will see a big red box around their offer or around their intent and say, "This guy's uncompliant." And it will not let them give it to them until they go into settings, review the document, make sure there's a new one in there, and set a new kind of expiration date, right?
Yeah,
So that definitely helps. And then further talking about customization, a lot of our customers ask about requirements on closing out a work order, right? So that's something that we're really excited to start working on here this month. Custom requirements on closing a work order. So like we're trying to implement checklists that the contractor actually has to acknowledge and check off, and maybe even upload some photos that you predetermine on that checklist before he can submit the invoice, right?
Mm-hmm.
And inside of HeyPros, I guess we didn't talk about the workflow, but when you sell the work order to the sub, that's not all HeyPros does. It's not just compliance and selling the work order to them. It's everything that you need until the sub gets paid out and the payout. So we support payout as well if you choose to do so. So
That was my next question. I see you have like invoicing and payouts. So yeah, how does that work?
Yeah. So when the sub is doing the work, any change orders are documented and logged with an approval and reject kind of feature while the job is going. So if a painter requests an additional $500 for something, they can't request it. They have to ask for it via like a chat or a phone call. But then your staff put in a change order with a description and reason, and they send it to the subcontractor for acknowledgement. And so that gets locked on the work order or logged on the work order. And then when the sub is done with the job, and same thing with schedule changes, they're all logged as well.
Can you negative work order too, like removing
Yes.
things?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. You could do back charges, and our system allows you to auto approve back charges if the painter is not going to be acknowledging this, but you obviously have proof that they messed up a job. You have receipts, right? You can auto approve back charge and dock them for whatever amount you need, and you can kind of save and attach proof there if you wanted to for yourself. But then when the job is done, the subcontractor has to mark it done inside of HeyPros. And when they mark it done inside of HeyPros, there's completion requirements. So like completion photos. Right now, we just have a place for them to upload photos. But like I said, we're working on a new update there where you can will allow companies to create custom completion requirements with checklists that they have to complete that job. And so when they upload those photos, when they fill out that checklist and they mark the job as done, then that work order that's done gets sent to the project manager saying, hey, can you approve that this is in fact done? And the project manager can reject it and say, hey, no, actually you didn't finish. Customer asked for a call back tomorrow. Okay. And it goes back into active status. Or if it is done, the project manager can hit accept. And as soon as he hits accept, HeyPros generates a PDF invoice of the whole line, all the line items, change orders, the initial work order amount, and it creates an invoice from the subcontractor's company, because he has all his information in there, to your company with work order number, everything that you need on an invoice, and emails it to your accounting department, whichever email you designate. Yeah. So that kind of takes care of that billing component, where most painting companies will wait. There's two things. In my experience, I don't know about everybody, but in my experience, subcontractors will either A, invoice before they finish the job, or B, invoice a month after they finish the job. And neither way really works. You don't want to receive the invoice before they finish the job, because then you have to hold it for them and not put it in. And if they invoice a month later, everyone's like, wait, we're not on the same billing cycle anymore. So with HeyPros, as soon as the project manager approves that this job is done, that invoice gets automatically drafted and sent. So your painters never have to actually create an invoice ever again. And
that's pretty nice.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And we'll be integrating with we're practically done integrating with QuickBooks as well. to push that bill into QuickBooks. And then the last kind of component is our Stripe integration that we currently have, which allows you to designate a particular amount of days after the invoice is sent in and approved. Say 2 business days, 5, 10, whatever you want to put. And inside of HeyPros, the subcontractors can put in their ACH and routing number into a Stripe portal. We don't handle any of the banking information. Stripe does that, but they'll put that in, and you can auto pay them. It'll auto draft a payment wire transfer on the day, X amount of days after the invoice was approved. And you can also, there's a little page in HeyPros for you to manage the scheduled payouts, reschedule them, cancel them, or cancel them and mark.
What kind of fees do you see on those ACH payments?
Yeah. So Stripe typically charges, it's about like less. I think it's less than 0.5% that Stripe charges. It's
wow.
Like 0.04. It's pretty small. It's a little bit more than if you did like a standard ACH transfer. I think it's a few bucks more than a standard ACH transfer,
but it's not like a $60 per payment or something like that.
No, I mean, if you're doing a $10,000 work order, then it'll probably be about $60. But
okay, that's wicked. So that's like you were talking about compliance and change orders and the communicating with your subs and invoicing and payouts. How about scheduling? How do you deal with scheduling the projects that you're working on and making sure that the guys are showing up at the right time?
Yeah. So we recently built out a drag and drop workflow for work order management. You guys can see kind of a snapshot of it on our website, but essentially it lets you create custom labels and drag and drop work orders upon stages that you create. And the reason I'm bringing that up is when you're scheduling a job, typically what we'll see is a business sells a painting job. They get it signed by the customer, and what they'll go and do is they'll instantly go and kind of create a draft. Instead of putting it in their Google Calendar as a tentative date, what they'll do is they'll go into HeyPros and they'll just kind of create a draft work order with tentative dates, and they won't publish it. But as soon as they do that, it creates a card on that workflow that I mentioned. And in that workflow, you can create labels to like remind yourself for sending like a 24-hour notification to the sub once you actually do that, but you haven't dispatched it yet, right? So you throw it on that flow, you create custom columns for yourself on how you want to process that flow. But then scheduling it, we have a calendar. So you see all of your jobs tentatively scheduled on the calendar. You can sort by drafts, active, done, any status, right? And by project manager, you can assign them to project managers, these work orders, and see the schedule of a particular project manager. So it's pretty standard stuff. Trying to replicate kind of what Google Calendar does. But it just finds that work order card in addition to a little bit of customization.
Yeah. Okay. And how about like, I'm just like thinking through all of the things that could go wrong, like repercussions. Like say a sub is supposed to show up on Tuesday, he doesn't show up. Is there like, what's kind of your process for that situation?
Yeah. Another great question. Typically what happens in any other business that's doing this manually is they'll tell the sub that that's not okay. They'll tell them that they're gonna might not use them again. But in a company that has a lot of project managers, they tend to forget. And if he's in the database, they'll just end up using him again. So in most manual processes, there is no repercussions. With HeyPros, you have a review at the end of every single work order, right? And this review allows to leave a timing review, a communication review, and a quality review, as well as a text box. So we encourage project managers to dock points on subcontractors that are not doing what they promised to do. If they were late, they get a timing 1-star or 2-star, right? And a description of it. And so what ends up happening is this accumulates. So each subcontractor has a profile inside of your company, and all of these reviews accumulate. And so if another project manager goes to post a work order and the subcontractor is saying, I'm interested or want to take it, this review pops up when they're selecting them, right? It's right next to their name. They have a average rating, and they can click on that rating and see the previous reviews and what the jobs were and who left it. So they can kind of see what's been going on with the sub. So all of a sudden, follow
the sub between companies or no?
No. Every company has their own private private
Okay.
kind of network.
Because that would
Um,
really make it like Uber.
yeah, it would. We do want to allow each company to build their own relationships, right? We want to give everyone the benefit of the doubt. If the subcontractor did a bad job somewhere, that doesn't necessarily mean 5 years ago that he's going to do a bad job for you now, right? So we don't
Yeah.
necessarily
Okay.
think
Fair
that's
enough.
fair,
Fair
but
enough.
we don't
Um,
share subcontractor information between companies, right? We want to make sure that that's very clear. Every company has their own subcontractors. Nobody else has access to them. Nobody else has access to your work orders. Nobody else can. Yeah, everything is locked per company.
yeah. Okay. Yeah, that totally makes sense. And I guess so you can dock them, you can kind of track that relationship a little bit better than someone doing it individually. I mean, what are some surprising outcomes that or like not even outcomes, but surprising things that your clients have noticed who are using HeyPros that you like didn't even think that they would appreciate as much as they do?
hmm yeah, there's a couple of things. First one that kind of comes to mind is features that we didn't really intend to be features that came about to be features. We originally built HeyPros as an internal software. I think I mentioned that for one of our companies. And so we built a couple of little features that we thought nobody else would want except for us. And so there's a little broadcast feature that basically allows you to send a custom notification to your subcontractors. And it could just be like a text reminder or like a little text box to everyone. It's just like a blast saying like, hey, here's a new update, or like here's our new company policy or rule. And we didn't think anybody would use that, but some of our clients discovered it, even though we never advertised it. And now they're like sending little once a week updates to their subs saying, hey, there's a company barbecue happening at noon on Friday. And we're like, wait, so they're just now using HeyPros as a little broadcast tool to all of their subs as well. So I mean, that was kind of one of those things that we didn't intend for anybody to even find out, but it's there.
Yeah.
There's a few other things like that too. But ultimately, the big one is subcontractor adoption. That's the one we've always been afraid of since the very beginning. How do you convince subcontractors to use a software? Most of these guys do not want to use anything. And that's something that we've been battling for years. And I feel like we're at a point where we successfully see companies onboard 50 plus subcontractors without the subcontractors ever needing help, right? I mentioned that they don't have to download the app. Originally, when we designed HeyPros, all the subcontractors had to download the app to get in, and they
Yeah,
had
I
to
can
acknowledge.
imagine that being a big barrier.
Yeah, so that's been completely removed, right? When you first start working with your subs, everything can happen via a text message with a magic link, and the subcontractor has no barriers to a point of entry. They have as little buttons to press as possible, almost to the point where it's like 2 or 3 buttons to even get their first work order. That's it. And you inviting them takes as little time as possible, and that has significantly helped us get that user adoption very quickly. If a company wanted to start using HeyPros today, they could put in 50 contractors in a span of a few minutes, send the first work order to whoever of those they wanted to, and those contractors could take that work order or acknowledge that they want it or even place an offer on it if you choose
Yeah.
to give them that option in seconds without needing any training, just because we've worked with hundreds and hundreds of 40, 50, 60-year-old craftsmen and just tried to dial in like what works for them and what doesn't. And I think that's been our biggest kind of accomplishment, that we knew we were going to run into a problem with it for years, and we did originally, but I feel like we're at a point where we've solved it for the most part.
Yeah. And what would you say is your average like demographic for type of painting contractor that works with HeyPros? Like not the sub, but the actual business, the front end business.
Yeah. Most of our customers that we see are residential. So they serve homeowners and just sell kind of interior exterior projects. We typically see that we're more attractive to growing painting companies, ones that are already using 1 or 2 project managers and using at least 5, 10 subs or more. Reason being is because HeyPros really helps allow a subcontractor to double up or triple up even the amount of work that they can do by alleviating every single manual part of their process. So if your project manager is not busy, if you're not looking for new project managers because you have so much work that you're managing, it's like, well, why do I really need HeyPros? I have a guy that's sitting around doing nothing. But when you're kind of at that growing stage where you're constantly trying to hire project managers or constantly trying to streamline your production department, that's where HeyPros excels, right? When you need to have more efficiency and less mistakes in the production side of things. So typically we see that in like usually like 1 million minimum revenue painting companies. Really at the $2 million mark is where we shine and above. We work with some much bigger companies outside of painting as well. Like we work with a $50+ million flooring company, and that's
a lot of logistics.
We do very well with them.
So if someone wants to like get a demo, do you have like a YouTube video on it, or like what's the best way for someone to kind of learn more about what HeyPros does to assess it for themselves?
Yeah, we have a lot of content on our help center on our website. We do have some info on our Instagram account as well. I mean, you can just visit heypros.com and everything else is linked there. The best and easiest way is just to book a quick demo on our website. We'd love to meet you and do a little 15-30 minute walkthrough of the platform as it pertains to the particular business. We do a lot, but we're very focused on just one thing: building your subcontractor relationship, right? HeyPros won't help you sell jobs. HeyPros won't help you estimate, but HeyPros will help you cultivate your subcontractor relationships and make them better.
Yeah, which in turn makes production easier, makes logistics easier, and hopefully makes homeowners and customers happier.
Exactly.
Yeah. Sweet. Well, I'll throw that link in the description below the podcast, wherever you're listening or watching this. And yeah, dude, thanks for coming on. I think that you found a really cool niche in software, a need that not many other people would have seen. So that's cool that you found it and found the right developers to help make your dream turn into reality. So congrats on the app so far, and I'm excited to see where you guys go.
Thanks. Yeah, we're excited to be in the painting community.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, if we don't see you again before then, we'll see you at the next expo, I'm sure.
Sounds good. Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, Dmitry. Thanks for listening to the Painter Growth Podcast. If you want to grow your painting business, go to www.paintergrowth.com or click on the top link in the description. Talk soon.